Hello there. I am Lauren Heath, the empathpreneur, and I am here sitting in for Josh Carey on the Hidden Entrepreneur Show. I am so pleased to be sitting here with Chaz Wolfe today, and I am excited to learn more about you, Chaz, and everything that you do. So, spill the beans. Tell us about yourself and your
Well, first
journey.
off, thank you so much for having me here. It is an absolute pleasure to be not only on the show, but to be with you, Lauren, specifically. I know that you have a little knack for this. I'm excited to go through this process with you. So, about me, gosh, I'm a serial entrepreneur. You might call it a little crazy. I kind of wear that chip on my shoulder a little bit. I kind of like the crazy. I'm a entrepreneur in multiple industries, not to overcomplicate it, but just to make it a little bit more crazy. I got a background in sales, leadership, executive management. Basically, I've been someone on the sales side, number one sales producer in a company out of thousands of reps, all the way to leading a whole sales force for Grant Cardone and Frank Kern, some big names. Outside of that, obviously, I've built many companies of my own. Currently, I have 8 businesses, about 50 employees in 3 states. But really, I guess I don't want to just shine all the shiny stars. It hasn't always been that easy, as you well know, probably. I was raised by a single mom, and so I got to see her work her tail off, honestly, work really, really hard, a lot of times 2 and 3 jobs. And we always had what we needed, not always what we wanted, but what we needed. And so I can thank her for that. Really, in addition to what I got from her outside of just being, covered and my needs taken care of, but was this indestructible mindset, like never give up, fight till the end, do everything with excellence. So for me, I guess the mission that I'm on now is to be able to take that same bulletproof mindset and match it with my sales background, my experience and success in business, in systems, team development, all that fun stuff, and be able to help other entrepreneurs do those same things. For me, when I had systems and team process and raising up leaders in my businesses, I was able to then step out of what I was calling my business. It was a whirlwind. It wasn't business. It was a whirlwind, right? And maybe some other people can relate to that, but I was able to step out of that into freedom. For me, it was able to then start the next business. But for other people, it might just be work on other parts of the business or whatever that freedom looks like. But that's what comes with systems. And that's what I'm excited about helping entrepreneurs do.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. You said a million amazing things that I can't wait to dive into. So the first thing that I love what you said is, you've done it from both sides. You've been the salesperson and you are the salesperson, but you've been, out there in the field, but then you've also been the leader. So, I would imagine, having been in both sides, you're able to really lead your people from a place of integrity and trust and all of these values that are so important in order to be a great leader. So I love that you've kind of been on all these different sides, and 50 employees in 3 states. Like, can we just like round of applause? Like, that is amazing. I've built a team before, not to that size, but I think that is incredible. And I know that no matter the size and in an industry and in whatever field that you're in, I know how important it is to really build a team from a place of, again, trust. And so, I wonder what you think of this concept. I really believe that a great leader creates more leaders.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
No, it's 100% true. I'll give you a couple different examples of what I've gone through to be able to maybe give some practicality to that. I was a sales manager for an advertising company, and very successful. I wasn't at that time. I was super young. I started in that sales role when I was 21, and so I was a good salesperson, but I was still learning communication, maybe not to be so as blunt or as direct or maybe aggressive or intimidating, right? And so through that year of just hardcore cold calling, right on the phone, just hammering the phone every day, I was really able to develop, not to the person I am today, but enough to where I felt like I could step into a leadership role and be able to lead people, right? So that's the step one of what you said: be able to lead people, be able to connect with people, be able to empathize, but yet hold people accountable, be able to move the needle, not only for yourself, because their success was my success, right? Like if they did well, then my family got to eat, but it's because I genuinely cared about them. I wanted them to do well, right? The next layer to that, what you're asking about, is then creating new leaders. It was an amazing feeling for me to not only have a top sales team at that time, but then any new sales team that was created. I'll give you an example. Like a person would be hired, right, as a sales manager, and then they would take a couple people from all these different teams and kind of create like a little base, and then they would hire some new people in, and then off they go with their new team. So at that time, when I was in that role, I had the most managers become like that would either on my team or were sent to my team to be groomed to become a manager. So they came to my team, I groomed them, they became a manager. The problem, quote unquote, maybe, was that when not only did they leave my team, which then, hurt my production, not really, but, a negative person might see it that way. So I lost that person that I've been investing and grooming and all this stuff, right? But then they would typically take another person or two because they knew I could handle it. And it was just like, oh my gosh, my brain's about to explode and I got to replace 3 awesome people. But the feeling that I got from, wow, like I get to watch then this person take their team and explode into their own person, their own leader, their own thing for their business or for their career or, whatever. Because I've done that in multiple stages. That's just an example, but there is a difference. You're right. A good leader produces other leaders, flat out. And if you haven't gotten to that stage yet in your life, that's okay. It just means that you need to start now looking at not just how do you be successful in creating a team, but then how do you further your people? I've had so many people come to me, even through my retail franchises, that I've literally created new positions in order to keep them, right? And then eventually, I've even had some people have to move on because I don't have another position for them, right? And that's okay, because guess what? While they were with me, my hope, and I would tell them this, is that they learned, that they grew, that I prepped them for whatever opportunity was next for them, because that's my responsibility. That's my duty.
Oh, so many beautiful things that just like, I actually got goosebumps when you were talking. So I love that you were saying that, first of all, that you have such a positive mindset about, people moving on, people that you've invested so much time and energy and, like, literally putting like your life, experience and what you've learned into these people. And you did your job so well that they, quote, didn't need you anymore, which I know that isn't the case, but that they were able to move kind of beyond. And I think that is a beautiful thing. And I think that says so much about you as a leader, and also just as a human, that you have that mindset of, that, okay, I was able to help this person and I was able to help shape this person's career, and take them to the next level. So what a beautiful thing and what an amazing accomplishment. And I think that says so much about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been a fun journey. It really is when you see it from that perspective, because otherwise it's just going to always be like you're losing out, or you never create any more, and it's just always about you. And growth can't happen in that environment either.
Okay, I like what you said. If you're focused on like the lack almost, then you're going to continue to receive lack. So, okay, so something you talked about a minute ago that I want to go back to that now you're making me think of. So you were talking about, mindset and our thoughts, and it's like, how we shape our thoughts, shape our actions in our future. So tell me more about this discipline of thought. What does that mean exactly?
DOT, baby. DOT. All right. So I have to say that I didn't personally create this, but I have just picked up the flag, if you will. When I first started in phone sales, I'd already been in sales, insurance sales, retail sales, but I'm 21 at this time. So even at that time, I already had 5 years of sales experience, right? So I'm 21. I have this amazing sales manager. Okay. And she has on this wall, she didn't make it up either, but it was just another person in the organization. I think it was just an idea that they had, but this sales manager had it on the wall. Like, in fact, you saw the deal obviously on social media. That's why you're asking, but I've got the sign right there on my wall. I printed, like, it's not just something that I give out as content. This is something that I eat and breathe the stuff that I believe, right? So it's on my wall right there. It's got my logo, Bulletproof Sales, right? It's got my other logo, Wolfston Consulting. I'm all proud, right? But the main piece of it is this bullseye, and it says DOT, discipline of thought. Now, for me, when I learned that, it was keeping people accountable to a positive, forward-thinking thought process. So in sales, it was, oh, that phone call sucked, or oh man, that guy's a joker, or whatever you could possibly think of in a negative sense. But oftentimes it would, whether it came out verbally or not, it came out in your actions. We created this culture, or my sales manager created this culture around no, 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 like stop it right there. Stop the thought right there. You have to have discipline of your thought. And she would literally be like, no, 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 go slap the wall. So we'd go over, slap the target and be like DOT. And the whole team was on it. So it didn't even have to be her. It wasn't like her regulating it. It was someone else on the team going, whoa, 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 bro, clean that stuff up. Hit the DOT sign, you know? And so we had this almost accountability in our group of like, in order to achieve things that we've never achieved before, we first have to think like we've never thought before. Number two, we then have to do the things that we've never done before. So it all starts from the groundwork. So for me, in my, whether it be sales training or whether it be my consulting or even in my franchising, it has to be something that starts with thought, and you have to control those thoughts, which comes into the word of discipline. You have to have discipline over your thought.
Mm. Oh, so many. Yes. Yes to all of that. I love that. You know, I know for me, in the past couple years, I went through a lot of different stuff in my life. And, I know that my thoughts were not disciplined. I'll put it that way. I've definitely, kept seeing, when people say, you wake up and, did you have a bad 5 minutes and then your whole day, you made your whole day bad? Or, like it just, I didn't understand the concept of how, having my mindset right would change my whole business. And once I kind of had that light bulb moment, it was incredible how my business just blew up. And people were like, what are you doing differently? I'm like, I've just changed my thoughts. I literally just rearranged my thoughts. I love what you said about someone interrupted you, like interrupting negative thoughts. Like it's amazing how these changes can happen, again, not just in yourself, but in your business. And that will ripple effect into the people around you because you are who you surround yourself with, right? It's
Right.
just incredible how all these things will just start falling into place once you just change your thoughts. So I love this DOT. This is new to me in this format. So thank you for sharing this with me. I'm very excited by it.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. So something that I was seeing on your social media, you were talking about, you said this thing that where you were asking other people, if you could go back and give advice to your 18-year-old self, what would that be? And I was reading some of the comments and they were very interesting. And now I want to know, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I answered it on there. I kept it a little bit general. But my answer to my 18-year-old self is, I know, the long game. It seems long, but it's not that long. Get good at the long game. So for me, I'm just an extremely urgent individual, right? I got really big aspirations. I'm really, really urgent, and I want everything to be perfect. It's like, but those things often can't coexist, or they can, but it's a matter of process. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of evolving. It's a matter of me growing up, right? Matter of me being able to grow up in my mindset, growing up in my financial discipline or my leadership or my whatever, right? So the 18-year-old Chaz was graduating high school, had already been working full time, had already made a big decision. I played basketball all the way through, like from like 9 or 8 all the way through high school, and was wanting to go to college and play ball, but I stopped the middle of my senior year. No, actually, it was my junior year. I was 17 when I said, you know what? I'm probably not going to go pro. I might go D2, probably not even D1. I mean, I was an okay ball player. But for me at 17 to go, logically, what does the rest of my life look like? It probably isn't me playing professional basketball. What can I do now? Practical steps to be able to really take off in my future. Now, you can only think so big at 17, or at least I can only think so big being in the environment that I was in. Now, my children, I hope that at that 17, they're like me now, like maybe beyond me, right? Because of the environment that I'm creating. But at 17, for me, the environment that I had and who I was, that's who I was. I was ready to maybe go to college or something, figure it out. I didn't really know. But this is what I would say. Hey, get good at the long game. Don't take shortcuts. Not that I took shortcuts, but the long game just seems so long. Like retirement or making a lot of money or success or having a family or whatever just seemed so like I just wanted to get it done. I want to get it done. I want to get it done. Right. So, I mean, I was dating my wife now we met at 18 and 17 in high school, I would have married her then. Like, that's how crazy I am. But that's also how I know. Like, I just know that I know things. Like, not to like, I'm not like no knowledge. I knew she was the one. And so I was ready to go all in and commit, right? At 18 and 17. And I figured, well, I should probably wait till she gets out of high school to ask her parents before, that's just who I am. So the 18-year-old Chaz, it's like, okay, chill out. Now, don't chill out, like slow down, but just realize that the long game is long and it's okay. It's not really that long, because here in about a quick second, you're going to be 33 on this podcast show with Lauren Heath, and they're going to have done all these things that you're either going to be proud of or not proud of. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you were saying. Like, you you almost kind of like talked yourself down for a second. You're like, okay, hang on, let me take a step back here. And you kind of looked at things logically, which is amazing. I don't know that I could have done the same thing at 17 or 18, to put on your logical hat instead of your, hormonal,
Right.
whatever we are at 17, 18.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love also what you were saying about, you knew, like you knew you wanted to marry your wife. You knew that you knew that you didn't want to play basketball. You weren't going to focus
Right.
there. You knew that you had other aspirations. I think that's so important that, like, we all have this like inner voice that I think, tells us when we can or can't do something.
Yeah.
I know I identify as a very intuitive person, hence the name empathpreneur. Like, I'm very in touch with myself and my feelings, and I'm all about empathy and how to
Yeah.
integrate that into business. And so one thing that I've gotten really good at over the years is listening to my own gut and my own intuition. And I know that when my mindset wasn't right, I wasn't able to really listen to that voice. And anytime I didn't, I was like making the wrong choices, so to speak. So I think that's really beautiful that you had that foresight at such a young age. Like, that's a really incredible thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And you're right. It is a little unique. I know that that's maybe a little unique part of my story. And I guess what I would say to the listeners out there who maybe they couldn't have grasped themselves, like you said, at 17 getting that, but that doesn't mean that at 25 you can't get it, or at 35, or at 55. There are things right now that I would say, if you pulled my grandmother, 77 years old, she does a lot of my admin. She does a lot of my like office stuff because she loves it, not because I need her to do it, but because she loves doing that type of stuff, and I do need someone to do it. And so we partner in that way. And in the midst of us working together now for almost 10 years, she would literally stand right here next to me and say, I cannot tell you the things that I've learned, or that I've grown, or that I've pushed myself out of my comfort zone because of when I see Chaz with a client, or when I have her transcribe my Zoom calls. Like, right, so I send her the Zoom calls and she transcribes them so I can use them for content and stuff. And so she's going through my sales training, right, repetitively at 77 years old as she's transcribing, and she tells me almost every single week, I can't believe how you broke this down. It was awesome, and I learned, and I used it at the da store, and blah blah blah. And so at 77, she's still learning and growing. My point is that whether you're 17 or 77, the opportunity is still there for you to be able to grow, change, develop, lean in, and I haven't made it by any means at all. I'm looking to, like, hit the moon, so I don't even think I've made it there. And so I think at 33, it's like, wow, what else is left? I think that's the mindset that we all have at whatever age is. What else is left? What am I really doing here? What's my purpose? Why am I really doing this? One of my phrases that I use in life is unto what? It's kind of weird English, but I say, unto what? Why am I doing this? Why am I on this podcast right now? Why am I talking to you? Why am I at the PodMax event? Because I want to do ABC. I want to get my name out. I want to be able to connect with new people. I want to be able to whatever. Why am I doing that? Well, because I want to grow my business. Why am I want to do that? Well, because I want to make money. Why do you want to do that? Well, because I want to put money into real estate. Why do you want to put money into real estate? Well, it's because I have children and I want passive income. So that way, when they turn 17, it's not a matter of, hey, you don't have a clue what you're going to do, and you have no idea how to work finances, but you've now had a father and a mother, but a father has taught you business and taught you finance and taught you how to do passive income. And he showed you everything that he's done. So that way you can take it and then 10X it. And hopefully my grandchildren one day build something that I can't even think of. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. First of all, I love that you you work with your grandma. Like, I think that's incredible. It says something about you, first of all. And I think it says so much about her too.
Totally.
I think that it's really easy for, us to, maybe place judgments when it comes to age of what people are and aren't capable of. And I think that it's amazing that, she has taken the step and like it works with you. Like that's incredible. And also working with family. I know some people have different opinions on family and business. So I think that's just a beautiful thing. And I love that she is, absorbing all of this knowledge that you are, imparting with her. And I think it goes back to you again wanting to share your knowledge and your experience with people, and I just think that's incredible. What you're talking about, what I'm thinking of what you're saying is the importance of having a why. I'm hearing you say that you're doing all this because, and you shared all these reasons why. So why do you think that, most people, I shouldn't say most people, why do you think that some people struggle to figure out what the next steps are? And do you think that's related to their why, or whether they have a why or they don't have a why?
I do, and typically it's because they don't have it or they don't understand it. So for the person that's out there that is bored, or the person that is out there that they don't feel like they're fulfilling any sort of purpose, or the person that's out there that has achieved a bunch, but then they're just like, man, like they're at the top of the mountain and then that's it. Like there's no continuance, there's no nothing, right? And I would say that I learned personally from Grant Cardone that you can't think bigger unless you have a bigger goal. You have a bigger thing. And so for me, I love achieving things. But what I learned from maybe like the 10X mentality was that right about the time that I get to achieving that goal, I need to reset it and make it bigger. Because if I don't have something further to go after, and it's not about not being content, because there's a big difference between being grateful and content in what you have and wanting more. Now, for me, I know that's how I'm designed. I was made by a creator who looks inside of me and says, I've designed Chaz to be a builder, a creator, a pusher, a shover, a get things done type of a guy. And so if I don't continue that personally on the inside of me, I'm going against the very fabric of who I am. I would also say then someone else that might be listening may not be much of like, well, I can't push as hard, or I don't want to push as hard, right? Maybe I'm content, right? And that's okay. You can be content. You can be grateful for where you're at, but there's still something inside of you that you haven't achieved or maybe become. There's still an angle of who you are, or maybe a talent that you have that hasn't been exposed or that hasn't been used to its full potential. And when you see it like from that angle, it's what Grant says is it's your duty, it's your obligation to then get that out there because it was given to you to do so, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the listeners who maybe, what you're saying is resonating with them, they want to figure out, what their talent is. Maybe they haven't quite identified that. What would you say to those folks?
Yeah. Well, I love how you can listen to different gurus out there. Some gurus will tell you just go make money and everything is solved with money, right? Then you listen to other gurus who are like, just do what you love.
Mhm.
And sometimes what you love doesn't make any money. And sometimes just making money burns you out, or it leads you to a place where you don't like there's no love. There's no feeling behind it, right? So what I would say is you have to be able to mirror those two things together. Now, for me, as an entrepreneur or someone in the sales world, I don't necessarily love making a cold call, right? I don't necessarily love walking into a room of new people and shaking everyone's hand because I'm not necessarily, believe it or not, an extrovert. I'm a learned extrovert, right? So I know what the benefit of walking into a room and being extroverted can do for me, right? So I would say to that person is that I have had to do things that I didn't quote unquote like or love, but I chose to do them because it got me what I wanted. So again, it goes all back to the purpose or the why. When you clearly identify your why, then you see through the lens of your why. And everything that you do each day, whether it be on this show with you, or whether it be take my kids to a dance recital, or go to the park, or I go to a weekly breakfast with my grandma, right? Like I do things on purpose because it's through the lens of what I want. And if the task in front of me doesn't line up with, does this get me what I want? Then I don't do it.
Mm.
Gets me what I want. I do it and I try to repeat that action. And I try to do more of that like action, you know? But if it doesn't get me what I want, I just X-nay it, get it out. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. I love that. Ugh, I love that. It's so beautiful. I think oftentimes, we do things because we feel like we are supposed to do them,
Sure.
right? Like, okay, well, I said that I was going to do XYZ by X date, and then maybe something changes. And it's like you can give yourself permission to change that as long as it's in alignment with your why. What's
Right.
that? The Simon Sinek quote, people don't buy what you do, how you do it, they buy why you do it. So I think
Oh,
as long as you're in touch with that why, everything can be changed and moved as long as it fits under that, overarching umbrella. I think that's just a beautiful thing.
absolutely. And here's what I would say to a listener today. Practically, what you just described is utopia. That's the perfect scenario, right? And here's what a lot of people do is they hide in what they think that is them staying with their why. So they didn't hit their target in that example that you just said. And so
Mhm.
they change the target, which is absolutely okay, or extend it or whatever, right? You don't lower the target, you just change it, you maneuver it, you do whatever. But you can't hide in that continually not hitting the target,
Mm.
right? You can't keep moving the target or changing the path, because for me it's like you don't change the target, but you can change the path to get there. And that's kind of what you just said, right? But some people will hide in the fact of changing the way to get there, and they'll change the target.
Ah,
They'll lower the target, right? Because they don't feel, because maybe they didn't have as much success as they had hoped, or maybe it was a harder road than they had anticipated, right? So it goes back to your beginning mindset of going, that's what I want, that's what I will absolutely get, and now I need to plan for like the absolute worst case scenario, and of course the best case scenario, but the worst case scenario is that I know the effort that's going to take to lean into this thing, and that way I don't have to lower the target. I might have to adjust or move or maybe change my path, but I'm not going to hide in I'm going to change the target. And therefore you're always just changing, you're never really growing, you're never really holding yourself accountable. Part of it is holding yourself accountable, but the other part of it is like, hey man, it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to maybe fall short. If you set a big enough target and you fall short, I bet you still did some awesome things. That's kind of the point.
oh yeah, absolutely. We have to be okay with making mistakes and being imperfect. And I love what you said about changing the path, not moving the target, just changing the path to get there. I think that's beautiful. I'm taking this very literally. I'm picturing like a big old field with like a target, at the very end, and it's like, okay, instead of, maybe make okay, maybe that target's a little too far. Let me scoot it a little bit closer. Instead of that, it's like, okay, well, maybe you go over here and try to get it from this angle, or maybe I need to go stand on this ladder in order to have it hit. So I think it's just amazing. And I know for me, something that I do when I'm feeling a little stuck is I, talk to other people. What's the saying? Like, you're the five people that you surround yourself with. I surround myself with people who have big ideas. And I know that's the whole point of why you're here. You're trying to meet new people. And so I think that's a really beautiful thing because, maybe we can't see what attacking that target and trying to hit it from a different angle is. But if we share our thoughts with the people around us and we're able to kind of share our goals and people that understand our why, it makes it so much easier to get there.
100%, 100%. And in my sales course, I've got a module called Fuel to the Fire, and this is one of the things that I honestly believe is a game changer. Is not only just surrounding yourself with people, physical people or virtual people, but books, things that you're watching, not watching, things that you physically do with your family or don't do, or with your friends. Like it literally is like an input output, and what you put in absolutely comes out. And sometimes not immediately. Sometimes it's you're training your subconscious to do something that you don't even realize. And years later, it comes out and you're like, where the heck did that come from? And it's like, well, dang, I was teaching myself to do this, whether it be a good thing or possibly a bad thing. And you're like, ooh, how do I undo this? How do I rewire this? Right? Either way, it could be an impact in the future.
Oh yeah, it's that long game that you were talking about before. Yeah.
100%.
I'm picturing like, I'm visual. I was imagining a visual.
Yeah,
So I'm
I love it.
picturing like you plant a seed and, we're not seeing anything coming up, for maybe a year or something, but we don't see underneath all these roots are growing and they're implanting themselves and they're getting stronger. So yeah, I think it's all about just like consistency and keep putting in that water and watering it and putting in that work so that eventually we do have this big blossoming tree that we've built, starting at 17 years old when we told ourselves, okay, I'm not going to play basketball, but I have this other vision. So I
Yeah.
love that you've been able to kind of put some of those things into place at a young age. And it sounds like now they're, well, sounds like much sooner, but especially now they're really kind of coming into play for you.
Yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate that. Those are super kind words. When you were saying that, what I got, I think a lot of listeners are hearing this and then applying it to themselves, which is perfect. Like that's exactly the application we're talking about. For me, I also extend these things to then the people that I impact, right? My teams, what I'm doing with them. We talked about raising up leaders. Like that's how a leader thinks. A leader who develops leaders, when they hear things like this, they think about, oh yeah, that's good. I need to write that down for me. I need to write that on my mirror. I need to make a change. But it's also then what's the next ripple, right? The next ripple is then who am I in communication with every day that also either needs to hear this or maybe needs to see the change in me, or I need to help, communicate with them so that way we can work through it together. I love that, being vulnerable with my team. And I'm like, hey guys, I'm not perfect in this. Can you help me with ABC, whatever? More importantly, thinking about like work teams, I'm thinking about my team, like my little wolf pack, right? I got kiddos, right? I got my wife. And so for me, it's like like you talk about the roots and stuff. Like for me, that's how I see parenting, which is the same way that you grow up leaders. It's the same thing, right? So my 7-year-old daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, my 1.5-year-old son are eventually going to be 25, 22, and whatever the ages are. But I hope at that point, when the tree is there, that there's fruit, because it's right now, it's me watering, it's me putting the sunshine. It's me, I don't raise plants at all of any kind, but I've heard you can talk to plants and you can raise them up and you can speak over them and you can be encouraging and you can play music and all these things you can do with a plant, right? So that's what I'm doing with my kids, because it's the roots right now. Because later, when they have whatever I've built, I don't want them to walk into something and be like, I've arrived. And it's like, whoa, you're going to have a road just like I had, of hard work and dedication and bulletproof mindset, like we talked about at the beginning, and that I learned from my mom. Their road's going to look different because I'm going to have structured things different, and they're going to have a platform to stand on to be able to, stand on my shoulders, if you will. But right now it's the roots. And if I don't get the roots right, like you said, there's no tree.
Yeah, and I love how you were, comparing, having like your family and your kids and your team. It's all connected. And like I'm picturing, your team and your kids or anyone's, who's listening, if they've, kind of built this really strong foundation of mindset, when you do get to that road, or, when you're looking at that target that's so far in the distance and you're missing it, maybe you're more, I know for me, I get excited. I'm like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Let me try this. And I get excited because it's a challenge. And
Yeah.
so I think seeing, quote, failures, I get excited whenever I fail. Like I love failure. So I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what can I do next to like try again? So I love everything that you're saying, and this foundation of mindset and with sales and everything that you do is just, it's great. I'm a big fan of yours already. You just met today. So
I appreciate that. You're right. The failures, you have to be excited to fail. And in fact, I was just talking to somebody on social media just a couple of days ago about this. And it's like, what are the hacks to get around failure? And my thought was, well, I don't want to get around failure. I just want to hurry up and get through it. Right. I know that there are dues to pay. Now, what I can learn from my mom or from other people around me can help me maybe avoid certain pitfalls, right? But I'm still going to experience failure. I'm still going to have to pay my dues. Just like I just explained with my children, like the scenario, like just because I'm going to have built something ahead of them doesn't mean that they're not going to have failure. It doesn't mean that they're not going to take a scenario and fail. They're not going to open up a business like I did and fail. They probably will. Guess what? And when I shut that business down, I turned off the light and I said, let's go crush it in another one. So you have to have those moments where you're like, okay, I want to hurry up and get through it. Not like through whatever the pain is, because I want to hurry up and get to it and then learn the lesson through the pain. Right. And then after, it's like, okay, I got it. I got the lesson. I got the pain. I can feel it. Let's roll. It's my dude. Gotta pay him.
I got goosebumps again. You're speaking my language, because that's literally what I'm going through right now. I literally just announced this week, that I'm shutting down my other business, my pet care business. And I'm going all in on this new venture of helping small business owners with social media. So I love what you're saying. It's just, turning off the light. All right, this is what I've learned. I'm grateful, and let me just move forward. So
100%.
I love that. I think it's really great.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure to chat with you and get to know you. I know that our listeners are probably wondering, how do I connect with you? Where can I find you online, Chaz?
Absolutely. Well, of course, on social media, but my website, chazwolfe.com, CHAZWOLFE.com. You can see there all the things that we've talked about today, but specifically helping entrepreneurs create systems, plan for strategic growth, having predictable revenue, being able to help sales pros with the sales process, or if you're an entrepreneur that has a sales team. Those are the things that I'm on a mission to do, like I said at the beginning, and you can find all that there at chazwolfe.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chaz. Appreciate you and hope you take care.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lauren.